Plot twist. It was all a setup. Y'all know how I be making these videos about like the setup and everything. Imagine somebody try to set you up, and in the process, they're literally setting you up for much more better because they didn't see the bigger picture. I was sitting here getting clarity of a lot of things like this. Like again, when someone hasn't done the healing work, when someone hasn't been in tune with who they are, eventually their own insecurities or what they ignore will pretty much not only set them up for self-harm due to their inability to heal, but it will also place you in an uncompromising position if you're not aware to actually jump on a path where you're more focused on yourself. Or you would pretty much fall in the ditch that they're unaware that they're digging themselves and so forth. So that's the whole plot twist in it all. I was like, I had to sit with it yesterday. I was like, plot twist. But I was like, the setup. Because again, I told y'all how certain things that I was experiencing, I would get revelations of people who I assume had my best interests at heart, but in reality, when they refused to do their own healing, refused to see themselves and refused to grow and so forth, do the inner work and so forth, eventually it will become an ego thing, or eventually their insecurities will peak, their shadows will peak, so many things will come up to where things couldn't be ignored anymore. So that's where, again, you have to recognize the loop and recognize the bigger picture, and knowing that you have to pivot. You have to not only pivot, but you have to be aware that, again, when people refuse to do the inner work, when people refuse to actually see the bigger picture, they're literally setting themselves up to continue to go through a loop. And sometimes it'll seem like someone is making progress on the surface, but again, if they don't do the internal work, if they don't truly go within and face certain things that are keeping them from staying in the loop or staying in the repeated cycle, basically, then you'll find yourself pretty much in the same loop if you're not aware, if someone doesn't catch it. And so I cut my hair, like, I got realized I shaped myself up, so it's like, oof, got hair everywhere. So the whole setup, the whole time I had to counter the fact of like, it's not so much the other person, it's so much of how consistent you even have to be with what you're going towards, accomplishing your goals, things that you set out. And even if you don't know the end result every time, you still know that there's still something to accomplish, even when you're in the midst of it. Even when, like I said, you don't know, because this is the funny part of the setup. The setup in itself will actually, you think it's gonna be a hindrance, or not so much a hindrance. The setup is actually preparing you for the best possible outcome regardless. For them, one thing again about the loop is that it's setting them up for the same results. This is why you got to be so focused on yourself. This is also why you got to be so focused on your own goals and what you're doing outside of outside of you even focusing on the person. You still have to focus on yourself. So again, it makes me think about, even when people seem like they were setting me up, because I was literally laying down after I showered and reflected on all the different things, and I was sitting here giving gratitude. I was like, yo, such and such was really setting me up to be where I am now. And that's the thing about being present. But you can reflect on the past, but that's the thing about being present. I was like, yo, such and such was setting me up the whole time, or this is the setup. Think about a setup. And it's the duality of it. Like someone could be setting you up for your setting you up for, if you want to call it failure, to set you up to if you don't do what they say you should do and control and do all this other stuff, in a way to like some forms of manipulation, deception to set you up pretty much for you to crash out, for you to react a certain way, for you to try to dim your light and play small. All of those things in a way to where if they're not in their unawareness of these things, they're still collecting karmic debt. Because in them trying to set you up, they're preparing themselves or digging a ditch that eventually they will fall into. This shit's so wild, bro, because I be sitting here pondering. I was like, yo, whole time I'm getting prepared. And when you stay consistent and stay 10 toes down, I'm not gonna front. There are times where thoughts come up and I have to allow them to flow, or the emotions come up around what looks similar before, like what I dealt with someone else, or what I dealt with them in the past. But then I tell myself, with being present, for one, you're not in the same position. It may look similar, but you actually have made progress. And you actually have stayed true to who you are. You stayed grounded. No matter how it looks externally, that's the thing that most people get lost in, is that they look at the surface instead of seeing the beauty. Oh, I got it turned the wrong way. That's wrong. Seeing the beauty even in these transits. You know what I'm saying? Seeing the beauty in the awareness around how what's familiar is actually the energy of the person, not so much you. See, that's the thing where you have to be aware of, is that just because something is playing out and looks similar doesn't mean that the end result for you is going to be the same. That's why I say the end result, I hear all the end result for them, where I know for sure that, again, when people come along your journey, it's something you have to learn. Or again, when you don't recognize a loop, you'll ignore the bigger picture. You'll ignore the patterns of realizing like, oh shit, I didn't see this before. So that's when you realize like you become a master at it, or you begin to realize like, oh, I see if I did this before, this was the result. I see if I did this, that this was the result. And that's why I always reference sex being significant, because most people don't know how to take or remove sex off the table, out of the equation. Because what it does is that it will have you focus on something completely different. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned with myself, is that when I had to express to someone, I'm like, right now, not even just right now, it was just the fact of like, I'll be setting myself up for something similar to what I've already experienced with you. You may not get this right now, but I'm very much aware of it. And so that's the thing where I knew that eventually you cannot control other people, but you have to also be grounded and rooted in setting yourself up as well. Because in them trying to set up stuff, it's like, I'm gonna give y'all this analogy of like, again, there's a saying goes like, this is a world stage, right? Or the world is a stage. So think about everybody in their life. Everyone doesn't know that they're the main character. Everyone is comfortable with being an extra in their own movie that's playing out. So one of the most important things is that it's okay sometimes to lose yourself, but also to find yourself again. Because that's sometimes where we refuse to see the loop. Because we'll think, and that's one of the biggest cycles I had to break with codependency. I had to step out. I had to step within myself and learn that, you know what, this isn't all there is. Even though this is how it looks on the surface, what is being asked of me to do completely different? What is being asked of me to adjust, to adapt, to know that, again, through discipline, I know what I deserve and desire, or I know what I'm worthy of. Through self-discipline, I know that I'm most definitely, my worth is more than just being complacent or even settling for what I perceive as the bare minimum. And I know how magnificent I am. I know how confident I am. And rebuilding that will have you realizing what type of patterns you also were living out, to realize like, wow, I've also been in the loop, and then I've also been supporting the person in the loop, in the certain like behavior pattern and so forth. So going back to, again, the setup. Now, the setup can be completely different. I was sitting here reflecting on this shit with everybody. I was like, yo, such and such try to set me up. And again, I'm looking at it in a duality. Setting me up in a way of like wanting me to fail or wanting me to fall flat on my face so I can be codependent on them, or running back to them, or be entangled with them. See, that's the thing about learned behavior patterns, or even when people don't heal, they're sometimes unconscious or inadvertently still doing the same thing, to where they're not even noticing it, to where it's like, yo. And so that's where the conflict of interest, or the a lot of things become shaky, the foundation, because it's going to force you to evolve and it's going to force them to evolve. So again, this is where I realized, like, reflecting on what my mom, dad, think about it, like, even having the absence of a father was still preparation to something great and amazing. Because even in his absence, he was still setting me up. That's the duality of it. It's like, it was a painful experience, but what do I have to gain from it? So you got to realize the setup was like the absence in itself, the abandonment. Because, you know, that was a part of, like, again, if you know a stage and all that other stuff, or improv, they set up certain things. So then, that's how you got to look at certain aspects of your life as a setup. So now, when you're unaware that you're acting as an extra to other people, then you start to realize, like, hold on, I'm finna leave this set. Bitch, I'm finna fire myself. I don't give a fuck. Fuck this shit. When you realize you're the main character in your own world first, individually, man, fuck this shit. Fuck this set. Fuck all this shit. Because when you think about it, like, something's on set. So meaning, like, people literally are the best actors, especially when they don't know who they are. They're the best actors. They know how to mask themselves. Again, it's like improv. And especially when you're dealing with narcissists, or a narcissist template, or over a narrative due to manipulation, deception, and so forth. So you got to realize, a lot of us, or a lot of people, have been on set of other people's fucking stages, or other people's movie set. Like, you've been on other people's movie set without even realizing it. So the whole time, when you don't realize you can create, and this is the plot twist, when you realize you're the main character, you're setting everyone up on set. This shit literally had me, it was a download, this shit literally had me fucking mind blown. Because at a point of time, whether relationship, business, whatever it is, you were a person that was acting out in a way what you felt you were worthy of, what you deserve. And you got to look at it in the monetary aspect, this aspect, and so forth. So this is where that push-pull comes from, where a lot of people can't let go. They actually are comfortable with being the extras in other people's movies. they don't rebel. That's one thing I love about my daughter and my son. It's just like, it's a difference between looking for validation and acceptance. No, they don't have to do that. They don't have to do that. You actually need to realize that you're the main character in your world. That's one thing I will remind them and constantly remind them. Because as you grow up, I have to adjust to your world just like you're adjusting to my world. Or I'm a character in your world in different scenes that we have. But not every scene is the same. So think about the comfortability people are in where they feel like every scene is supposed to be exactly the same and they don't even realize the motherfucking plot in that shit. As soon as they change their perspective, it makes me think about the movie, what is it with Jim Carrey? What is it with Jim Carrey? What is that shit called? Man. But Bobby, rest in power, Bobby Hemming, he referenced that. He started to realize like everybody was like, it was a show. And everybody was watching him and everybody was in on it. That's why I tell setting you up. And it's not just a horrible thing. They're setting you up for your own set, for your own show. That's why you can go through life and some people never realize the importance of their worth. Once they realize that all eyes has been on them, then you start to realize like, bitch, not only can I do what I want, but at the same time, there's going to be discipline to where it's like, that's when you rewrite the script. You rewrite the script. And everybody not willing to do that. And in the process of that, that's what I realized. I was like, wow, this whole time this person thought that they were setting me up in a way like certain things I start to introduce, certain things I start to say, and they try to use it against me. All to keep the attention on themselves. Again, to stay relevant. Think about that. And it's so funny because we're entering Jupiter and Leo, so you got to realize the duality of this energy, the expansion. So when you've done the inner work through Jupiter and Cancer, a lot of this, what I was getting clarity of, and we're in the full moon energy, I was like, yo, you literally have people seeking for their validation and acceptance through what Leo rules the heart, but it's also the sun, so the illumination. So the attention that people are wanting, they don't even realize it's coming from a place of insecurities, being overly confident, trying to look outside of themselves, or they don't even know in doing that and doing so, they will easily become an extra. And they can be easily preyed on. They can be easily like, again, when they don't see the importance of being a main character, they'll unconsciously or subconsciously become, due to their own fears of stepping out, being courageous, because Leo is courageous in the heart chakra, they won't have the confidence. Or they'll be overly confident in attention seeking or looking outside of themselves for the validation of people closest to them. Not reassurance, acceptance and validation. So that's one thing I realized, like, the onset aspect refers to that to me. When I look at my life, I'm like, whole time, all this shit was being set up. And people's, again, someone trying to set you up, and the plot twist is when you actually catch on to the loop and realize like, oh, you were trying to set me up for this whole time. I alchemized it, or I countered it, or I did something completely different, to where you would have just assumed I would have stayed in the loop and never seen what you were up to, and so forth. So in that, you got to realize when someone is used to doing things to stay in the shadows or stay in the dark, they want the attention on them, but in an unevolved way. So now, once you realize that, or once they realize you took back your authority, your crown, and you can stay consistent with being on the journey of self-awareness, healing, a balance between, showing up for yourself and other people. But when you're showing up for others, it's not looking for acceptance. It's not looking to be liked. It's not looking to be even in anything like to be embraced. You do that for you. So I can see how this Jupiter and Leo are going to expand a lot of that, where again, it's going to illuminate those in the unevolved aspect and however Leo shows up in people's chart and so forth. And it's so funny because I don't know if we've transited already. I know today is the 30th, so when I'm making this, the 30th of June, and I literally just did what? Cut my hair, again, wearing yellow, illumination, like literally feeling the energy, because even with my dreams, I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? But I was getting clarity of even the energies people were still in and still looking for some type of acceptance, validation, some type of something to feel seen. And that's why it's so important to evolve through these energies, or like be yourself. And that's the sun aspect. No matter what you do, like I said, this whole time, if I didn't focus, like navigate through the darkness and see the light within myself, I would have dimmed myself and stayed in the dark and been fed to the shadows of other people's shit. Instead of really realizing I'm confident in who I am, like, and only I know that by doing the inner work. So again, I was like, you know what? Now y'all on set of my movie. Think about that. I want you to ponder on that shit. Because people think they were setting you up. It's like they're trying to set you up to be an extra in their movie because they want the focus on them. And they're doing it in an unhealthy way. This is why when people play victim through certain things, instead of overcoming and becoming victorious, it's a difference between attracting things through victimhood and victimization, rather than realizing as you overcome it, there's still going to be people who stay in the victim mentality and will only see you through that lens because they refuse to overcome what they've experienced. Think about that. They refuse to overcome. So this is why there's a duality to that. That's why sometimes when you choose to overcome shit, again, that is the plot twist also, to where people now have to adjust within themselves and be able to do the inner work as well, the shadow work as well. Think about that shit. Because people love when you in the dark. Some people, not all. And this is how your setup changes. Because we all know some people that love to see us down bad or prey on you when you going through shit and so forth. And the whole time, you're set up. Divine was setting you up for something greater. See, when people actually thought they were trying to set you up and place you in here, do this and do that, the whole time, this is why it's so important to stay consistent and stay in integrity. Because that's why I tell people, pay attention to your dream state. Pay attention to a lot of shit, because the divine will reveal to you the outcome that what it could have happened. Because I don't know if a lot of people see it like that, but it will show you the merging of worlds, where the vision where this could have happened with someone had you, repeated the same loop or pattern. This could have happened with someone. This could have been the same result, even or worse, because again, when you refuse to see the pattern, then you will continue to loop, and sometimes like I told y'all before, it ends in tragedy. Because sometimes dealing with things that, if past life related, where you didn't overcome something, and now you did. So you got to realize now, it's almost scary. It's scary, but a nervousness scary, because you're like, whoa, I'm really living out the life that I didn't get to live out before in another lifetime, or overcome this obstacle or karmic connection with this person before, because some of it could have ended in tragedy. Or this time around, this lifetime, you get to choose yourself. Because a previous lifetime, you could have chose, you could have chose, and now when I say family, you could have chose family to your detriment, to where you were more loyal to the family dynamic, but never getting to choose yourself. So you got to see how energy evolves. And then when you're dealing with Leo energy, self-love and self-care is very much important. So again, dream state. As you evolve, pay attention. See how the energy feels in a dream state. See how certain people energy shows up. Even if they're acting a certain way on surface, pay attention to how they're trying to, how they what their energy is, even when you're seeing something come into fruition. Or even if the divine trying to show you, well, you remember this vision, or you remember, because I know a lot of you be like, yo, I saw myself here. Because you could have saw yourself in a different timeline, higher timeline, and so forth. But there's no fucking shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. Because it's something you need to see. It's something you wasn't aware of, and now you're like, oh, okay, I see why now. So now you preparing yourself, and you realize the whole time, the divine is also revealing the hearts of people. And then they also reveal in your being in integrity, and I'm telling you from lived experience through discipline, it'll always reveal the shadows of what people are hiding and also their true intentions. Because even I would love to say this, even in their false intentions, it's still some truth to it. Because it's still showing you the falsehood that they're living in. And that could be your truth and clarity. They're ignoring their falsehood or what they're living in, instead of accepting that this is who they are. That's the beauty in the shadows. That's even the beauty in ancestors that didn't evolve. To actually see their lessons. To actually realize somebody before didn't, they had an opportunity to step out and step away, but there was a blockade before. Or, again, that's the setup. That's why I told you, when some people don't heal, they'll literally try to set you up because their inner demons, angels, whatever the fuck you want to call it, their inner conflict and so forth, they will sometimes intentionally or unintentionally don't even realize the self-harm they'll bring to themselves and you by trying to, keep you in the loop or keep you in the shadows. And that's the thing about when people's shadows show up. When you don't heal, you don't even realize you're in a loop. So the whole time you'll try to drag somebody right into the darkness with you. See, that's the setup. See, their setup is they're assuming like, and it's so wild when you think about the characters that they depend on or that is supporting their setup. They're literally, you come into their life and the setup is just like trying to intervene with someone or in their karmic lessons that they need to learn. And the whole time you trying to come in, and if you don't know the importance of self-love and self-care through self-discipline, here you is trying to be the savior complex whole time. You're gonna be set up. But a lot of it is so beautiful because the divine will literally place you in these places knowing that you have the gifts, knowing that you have the ability, knowing that you have the confidence and so forth. That's the willpower that you have to have inwardly. Because everyone's not going to be willing, and they have the free will, but they're not going to be willing and have the courage to actually do the fucking inner work. And continue going and keep going. This is why, again, their insecurities and a lot of shit will peak. So the whole time they think they setting you up in the divine right there in the midst of everything, seeing everything that happens. And that's why people don't realize they collecting karmic debt. And this is why they won't even have access to you. Because they refuse to do the inner work. They can have access in a way to where it still comes with healthy boundaries. That's one thing I realized through lived experiences. People never set healthy boundaries. They never thought it was important. So they don't realize, like, why would I, in myself, stay around someone who you're going to get the same results. I don't want the same results. So why wouldn't I change my behavior pattern? Or why wouldn't I focus more on what I'm creating if I know that this is going to bring me structure, balance, security, emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually, and financially? That's when people become a liability. Because they don't see themselves as an asset. They don't see the importance of actually doing the inner work. That's why people get so bothered. by the fact of how persistent you are with showing up. Because behind the scenes, the divine is operating shit. But a controlling and manipulative person, if you want to use the term narcissist or whatever, they'll make it seem like, you know how they get that God complex, or they make it seem like they're everything, and whatever they have is all there is, and this is how, this. And this is why you have to learn through those experiences. What is this teaching me? To keep evolving when people don't. And as you do that, you slowly start to realize they'll fall away, the energy. Your reactions or your responses, you won't react anymore, your responses become different. You respond by going in and then preparing outwardly to focus more on what you're doing. Because that's what the Cancer, it was in my chart, having Jupiter in Cancer. Oh my gosh. I was like, whew, I made it. Because it expanded so many things around emotions, so many different things around home, so many different things around a lot of things, to where I was like, if nobody was gonna do it, that's how focused you have to be. No one else is gonna do it. You have to do it. Most people are afraid of that shit. You have to do it. Nobody else is gonna do it. Once you start to realize, like, certain people in your family, friends, sometimes it can be your spouse, whatever it is. Look at their patterns. How the fuck you can't tell me their outcome is not going to be the same if they haven't been consistent through something? Not even just months. I'm talking about years. Shadow work, healing and shit. Your life, for some people, like, I can't speak for everybody. It's still going to take discipline if something overnight happens. You know what I'm saying? It's still going to take discipline. Because yes, some people can go viral, come into some money, do all this shit, but guess what? It's still going to take discipline. Do all of that. Investing into self. Being disciplined. That's what I had to realize. Like, instead of looking at everybody else, I had to be so disciplined through this shit. Things I ignored then, that's the thing that doesn't make it perfect, because I had to learn before, like, okay, this time around, there's certain things I just cannot give into. I'm just not going to do, simply because of knowing that what the fuck? Knowing that I know their results are going to be different. It ain't going to be the same as mine. And sometimes that's why it takes the integrity and being consistent in, y'all lose something?
Huh?
Y'all lost something?
Well, somebody stole it first.
Oh,
Yeah,
dang.
so we're just looking for it now.
What color is it? They they stole it over here? Oh, dang. Oh, yeah.
And my car's a lot now. Because how done TV?
Oh,
And
dang.
they got a lot of money, a lot of cash in my wallet already. And I wouldn't care if they was just the first. Forget my social security card, my license.
Oh, damn. They stole it out your car?
Yep.
That's crazy word. They karma gonna be heavy. I'm trying to tell you.
Oh yeah.
But
And the $800 you see the video cameras, I got a photo of her.
it's a woman.
It is a woman. And I figured it was a woman because the stuff that was stolen out of the car. And so
They stole it at the Family Dollar, like they went in your car.
They stole it in my house. Like
Damn.
the night before that. And yesterday I was knocking on doors and stuff to see if I had cameras. A lot of people do, but a lot of these cameras are dead, or it's not facing my car, or
Yeah.
like that. So I'm like, wow, I'm gonna face it, not getting my back, and then like, bitch, are you stupid? Like, you had like $600. What the fuck are you using cards at $100 for?
Sound like somebody might be on drugs or something.
Real life.
Yeah. It might be in the alley though. Your best bet probably in the alley. That's crazy. I'm over here making a video. And I'm like, the way they jumped out, boy, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, boy. I thought motherfucker was the police or something. But yeah. Dang, somebody's purse got stolen. See? Plot twist. That shit wild, cause it made me reflect on some shit. Like how somebody, damn, I'm sitting here talking about setup, and whole time I'm reflecting on a whole bunch of shit, and somebody had, well, years ago, just reflecting, not staying in the energy, but stole my fucking wallet too. It made me think about how I got shit sent places and people. Oh my God. And like I just told her, the karma, that's the beauty in stuff coming full circle, where you actually think that in people trying to set you up to lose things, to never have the confidence to rebuild your life again, you bring the attention to you. And that's why a lot of people can be inspired, because you actually had the courage to go within and actually saw the bigger picture. And that's one of the toughest things I will say to do, is actually see the bigger picture, even when you know that a person is going through some shit that has nothing to do with you, but they try to paint you out to be whether a villain, and more so try to be victim and so forth. Eventually I tell everybody, people know what they've done. Because once they really start seeing how you have the courage and still push through and so forth, they gonna know at a time you gonna get everything you want and more. That's how shit come back tenfold. Like with her, like I don't know the whole situation, but I'm like, the reason I said somebody gotta be on drugs or something, because that's kind of typically the situation when a lot of people trying to steal, or it could be something else. Somebody used to tell me they might have needed it more than me. But just even with that, I'm like, wow. You'll get that back. Like I told her, karma's gonna be heavy for somebody. But you best believe people know or have an awareness that, and I'm telling you what has happened now. This is the plot twist. This is the thing where, again, in knowing a person who was trying to set me up, and the setup could be in a way of like people knowing that they can support you, but they don't. Knowing that they can be a much better human being, but they choose not to. They choose to stay in the dark, refuse to face their subconscious fears and so forth. So therefore, you got to realize eventually, through human nature, people are always going to show up in certain ways, which shows the imbalances and deep insecurities within them and how they mask themselves. They are eventually it's going to spill over. It's going to play out. But they don't expect you to overcome it. Like I said, that shit for me, everyone's experience is different. That shit for me took years, but it took years of consistency and to get to know myself and to keep pouring into myself. There's a balance between me, at times where, fall back into certain patterns, and then I have to learn because this life over here, even though it's not familiar than what I'm used to, it's more balanced, it's more structured, it's more fucking peaceful. Instead of being around people who that aren't whole within themselves, even if they have material things, even if they have a house, even if they have all these different things, the divine is saying, like, everyone's lifestyle is different. The divine literally is showing you on their set, they're so focused on you being extra rather than you actually being in your main character energy. Think about that. And that shit's so wild, because I think about and reflecting on connections, is just like my confidence or just me being on my path to authenticity always triggers some people. Not everybody, but a lot of connections triggered a lot of fucking people. And they eventually start being in my truth. Again, once you live in your truth and authenticity, it will actually, their mirror will actually, when you mirror this back to people, they'll actually fucking tell on themselves, or they'll actually come out, because that's just when you in that energy, it's like you trigger or mirror that which they're hiding. Like people telling me, oh, you know, it's basically like the insecurities, what they kept secure within, false sense of security, it spilled over. Oh, I had a dream about it. Oh, this and that. And you know, eventually they start to see the star in you. Or they start to realize like how much light you actually harness. But that's over time. Again, the sun aspect is because you, through cycles of the moon, through the moon cycles, you actually did the inner work. You actually start facing shit. You actually went inward. They were more focused outward. And in that outward approach, they forgot about the importance of honoring the cycles, the lunar cycles, honoring the emotions, honoring that which evolves them. And this is why certain connections I just couldn't stay in. I was outgrowing this shit. I was expanding. I was just, you know. And for me, at the time, it was challenging because it was teaching me, the divine was showing me like, okay, just because what you see on the surface with these people, it's not really what's happening internally. But I'm going to show you what's really happening internally with them. Think about that. I'm going to show you what's really happening internally with them, because this misconception of who they really are on the surface is just a mere illusion. And that's why everything in a way can be an illusion, because you're always evolving. Nothing is ever the same. And that's the feminine archetype in the principle. So your setup is always going to change. Just because you're here one day, your life can change just like that. And that's why I said, at a time where I was on the set of other people's in their worlds and on their, what they would perceive as a stage, because however they were presenting themselves, it was good and dandy and great when they try to hide who they were, or when you come in this energy at a time, even when you didn't know it, because eventually the divine was going to reveal you, it's in you, not on you. Again, it will expose that which is on the surface of other people. And if you're intuitive, you know you can pick up on the bullshit. You're going to be able to pick up on the bullshit with folks. That's why I be laughing at a lot of stuff. I be like, bro, the whole time, you lying to yourself. You ain't lying to me. And that's the thing that can be challenging in those moments where if you didn't grow up with the importance of people being confident, being secure. That's what I had to learn on my journey. People who I know dealt with abandonment wounds. They were comfortable with other people around them, enabling them to stay in victimhood, to keep them looping through the same fucking cycles. And the whole time, the divine's setting you up to go through these things, because the only way out is through, setting you up actually now for these people, whether they choose to be the main character or extra. Because in there trying to choose to be an extra, there's always going to be conflict. Because they never, meaning like they'll never know how to choose their fucking self. To realize like that's ego. And that's what I'm probably going to see a lot of in Jupiter and Leo. Like a lot of stuff going to come out. A lot of these transits are going to reveal a lot of things internally with people who have hidden certain things. And even with that, when you met yourself deeper, it doesn't affect you. When you're used to alchemizing, when you're used to transmuting, you're just like, okay, well, I'm not really surprised. That just protects me. I'm glad you showed me who you were. So now when my setup happens, don't tell me how to do shit. Don't tell me how to do this, how to spend this money, use this. No. And see, that's the beauty of when the divine takes you through things where you had to live on set or be on set with other people and actually see their character, actually see who the fuck they were. Because there's one thing with this person and one thing with someone else. And then you start to realize like, yeah, this ain't it. Because even when you think about the backstage and when you think about who's influencing them, it's a script. It's a script. When you start looking at people, you start to realize they own script. How they pop out, how they do shit, they own script. They're not writing their own shit. That's the beauty and authenticity and integrity. It's not to say, but basically, I just see in the creator aspect, I just see like, write your own shit, be your own self. That's what being authentic is. That's why you realize most of the world, the old world, was fake as a motherfucker. People just been on script. That's it. To be a certain way, act a certain way, do this, through deception, manipulation, and so forth. And that's the programming. So when people reprogram themselves with an internal compass or internal belief system, the fuck? I don't have to prove to y'all that I'm who I am. People gonna come up with whatever narrative and assume whatever it is, and guess what? I don't give a fuck. You just don't know how to be the main character in your life. Balance your life, structure your life. So before you think you're gonna come on my set and tell me how to do this shit, no, think about that. This script comes from the divine. What the fuck? I'm not going on your script. Cause you on script and then you go on, when you ain't authentic or walking in integrity, you're gonna go off script for a lot of people because you're so used to being a certain way. You're so used to performing or used to showing up a certain way. Think about that. That's why people, when they controlling nature and all this other shit, they don't want your ass to be able to be a plot twist and write your own shit. They actually will try to project their fears and all this other shit, hoping that you don't stay on script with what the divine has shown you and given you. Come on now. Because they know the whole setup changes. And it forces them to now go off script and rewrite their own narrative, rewrite their own story, rewrite their own shit. They have to go back to the drawing board. Now their whole foundation and who was supporting them on set in their life, and then now backstage, it all start to fall apart. It all start to fall. Think about this shit so fucking beautiful, bro. It all starts to fall apart. They have to make adjustments. And I tell you, even in that adjustments, you still have to decide whether you're gonna be the main character or you're gonna try to get into somebody else's shit. I wrote about this shit in my villain era. It's like the whole time people was trying to villainize and do all this other shit. They weren't doing nothing but preparing the fucking main character. Like and when you look at this in your life, you realize people were setting you up just to prepare you to be the main character in your life, just for you to choose your fucking self. Because then you will mirror back and show other people, it's okay to choose yourself. Some people don't even know how to fucking do that. Only thing they know how to do, I tell you, motherhood, fatherhood, through everything else. They seen other people before them, before they came into, childhood, adulthood, choose other people. They seen only other people be extras on other people's set rather than the main character. Peace.